Welcome back to Ancestors and Alcohol. So today I'm going to be talking to you about generational storytelling and why it's important in the African American community. So if you don't know what generational storytelling is, basically it's stories being told from generation to generation. For me, I believe that it's important that African Americans have generational storytelling because we're not really in the history books, and I think it helps to get a firsthand account of what it was actually like for people who went through slavery, for the children of slaves. I mean, we're not that far off from slaves. I talk to my grandparents now, and they can remember being sharecroppers and their parents being sharecroppers, and a lot of the time, a lot of the older adults that were born around slavery time, they don't really like to talk about it because it was too painful. But every now and then you will get somebody that will just want to talk to you and tell you everything. And when you find somebody like that, that's when you ask questions, and you ask questions to spark stories, to make sure that you can kind of get an account of what it was like growing up being African American in America, or wherever you're from. And that's kind of just, for my family, that's how it is. I always find the oldest person and I ask them stories. I think the oldest person on my mom's side is like 96 years old, and she's still moving around. And I can sit in there and have a good conversation with her and ask her how it was for her going to school. How was it? Like, what did your parents do? Did you ever meet your grandmother? What was she like? And it kind of gives you an idea of, okay, so this is what they did and this is how it is. And when you're doing your research, it's better if you have stories in your mind so everything plays out the way like when you're finding a census record and it says, I'll just use me for an example. So my great grandfather, he was a pastor. And when I talked to like my grandmother about it, you know, she tells me about how he's a pastor and how nice he was and things like that. And for me, when I'm listening to her tell me the stories, and then I go back and look at the census record, I'm like, oh, okay. And I can kind of envision it, especially when you get pictures and things like that. And that's another thing for generational storytelling. There's Bibles, there's documents, there's pictures. All of that goes into generational storytelling. And I think it's good that it's just passed on from generation to generation. It's something that will never die. Like, your family history will never cease to exist because somebody will always have the information. And when somebody's mind starts to go bad, that's when you start to ask questions, or you get them to write it down. Just any way possible. I think it's important for that. And like I said, start with your oldest relative, or you can start with your parents and see what they remember. I always like to get people that are like 60 and up, because they're the ones that were closest to kind of like, you know, the beginning of time for us. The further back you can go, the better. And then you just work your way down through each generation and make sure that you write everything down. And like I've said before, if you're not somebody who likes to write things down, type it. If you don't want to type it, record it. I record every single person that I talk to when I'm asking them questions, when they're telling me stories, because you can start off with one question and that will spark something in their mind, and then the next thing you know, you're like, oh my goodness, they remember something just from one question you asked. So please make sure that you guys are asking those questions, like I've said before, and encourage your family to do generational storytelling. Encourage the younger kids to start asking the older adults questions. I will be back with another alcohol review later this week. And please make sure that you subscribe. Also, follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Ancestors and Alcohol. And be sure to check out my blog. I don't post as much on there, but every now and then I'll put up something. So goodbye, beautiful Black people. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching my video. I hope that you guys enjoyed, and I hope that this will help anybody that's looking to start their family research. Please make sure that you subscribe, as well as follow my Instagram and Facebook at ancestorsanalcohol.com. I will also put a link to my blog down below. Goodbye, beautiful Black people.